slide.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. So basically, we're going to cover the first one is JDBC predefined variables, which is JSP directive, um, and then JSTL tags. Yeah, the one that we will do for class B and C for lab. For A, we already done the JSTL tags. All right. In the JSP predefined variables, yeah, you have about eight. Okay, eight predefined variable. So the normal predefined variable that we have used basically request. Remember, you use request.get parameter. Okay, you always use that in order for you to retrieve back the value from the HTML. And then you also have used some response, yeah, response dot get writer, and then you will also use out dot print line, yeah, and then you also will use session. Okay, that it will be in the session, creating a session for your application later on. And then application, we also have application, config, page context, and page. All right, let's look to the what it is about. Basically, predefined variables. Yeah, request, as I mentioned just now, we always use access request parameters. Yeah, and then response, you also have this response in your JSP as well. Yeah, this is an object of HTTP servlet response. Yeah. Out, basically, you will work with output stream, yeah, which is an object or an instance of print writer. Yeah. And then this will you will get it from respond.getWriter. Okay, session, basically you will use it with session HTTP session object. Yeah. So this will associate with the requests. Um, we'll use somehow this one request dot get session later. Yeah, in our lab exercise, we also have this in order for you to maintain the login and log out. Yeah. Everyone okay? My voice loud and clear?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Right. So kalau tak dengar ke, kalau terputus-putus, just let me know. Alright. So next is application. So application basically represent the servlet context object. This one is more or less like um, okay, whenever that you have session, yeah, when you have session in the coding, yeah, so it basically for a particular session for a user, only one user. Okay, that is bila, okay, let's say for example, you have an online banking. You log in, right? When you log in, a session will be created for you and for the other people that log in on maybe same time or other time. So they will have one session using the apps, and then whenever that they log out, the session will be destroyed. That is session object, using the HTTP session object. So you will create variable for session, and then it will save your name, your ID. Yeah? So that is session. For application, this is basically for all clients. So normally application variable is used when you want to store persistent data for all clients. For example, session is tied to one client, but application is for all client. All client means that let's say you want to share um, the easier one will be like variable for time. So you want to share time, time variable for one application, which means that everybody that log into that application will have the same time. So this time object is actually from the server. So you declare one time, time, let's say variable time, okay, and then it will actually use the time from the server. So everyone will have the same. So it will not follow your PC and your laptop ke, okay, the time variable. So it will follow the server variable. So that is application object for all clients. Okay, so basically we use it to share persistent data. Persistent data mostly for database. Yeah, so maybe there are certain data from database that you want it to be same for all your user, yeah, for all your clients. So that is the difference between session and application. Yeah, session is per client, whereas application is for all client. Client means that user lah, the user that use your system. All right. So for config is represent servlet context object for the page. So this is for a particular page. You want to have a variable that represent the servlet config for the page. And then you have page context. So this represent the page context object. So this basically to access access point for many page attributes. So this is a particular page context. So within the page itself, so you create a variable of page context. And then page is alternative to this, so meaning it refer to the page itself. So this is all JSP predefined variables. So you can make use of this. For example, okay, I have an example here. Let's say you have compute loan.html, and then is this in this compute loan.html, you have form action. So it will pass to compute loan.jsp. So when you click on the compute loan payment, this form will be submitted to this file, which is compute loan.jsp, where it does have predefined variables. The predefined variables here is request. So this is the first one predefined variable that I explained just now. So request here is using a method named get parameter with the parameter inside here. Loan amount is from the form. So this is from the form loan amount. Okay, so this is what we call as predefined variable in JSP. Right, boleh kelas? Any question? So far so good?
So far, so good.
So
Yeah?
far, so good.
Yes.
Alright, so let's look next JSP directive. So basically for JSP directive, we have three type of JSP directive. JSP directive normally it actually for page, it lets you provide information for the page, such as if you want to import classes. Let's say you want to import Java classes. Okay, now in your DVD library application, you want to import DVD item class. So you will have page, and the attribute will be import. So the page lets you provide information for the page, such as importing the classes. And then include is like you want to include a file. Let's say you want to design your application, you want the top and the bottom will be same throughout your application, meaning that all pages will have same header and footer. So what you can do, you can use this include, include page. So it will include the page file. Include page, give the file name, So you can include the file, So as your header and footer. So no need for you to copy paste the code for all pages in your web application. So that is include. It lets you insert a file into the servlet when the page is translated to a servlet or JSP. So this is JSP directive. Okay, the last one is actually taglib, Taglib. Taglib lets you define custom tags. So for this one, we will look. This is JSTL. We will look after this. So you have around 5 type of custom tags. JSTL tags. All right. For example, for your JSP directive, page just now, as I said, you want to import a Java class. So the Java class name chapter 40 dot loan, for example. Sorry, loan dot class, loan dot Java. So chapter 40 is your package. So this is the syntax where you can import a class. Okay, the class must be placed in a package, for example, chapter 40. So here you can access loan. This is loan object. Loan dot monthly payment, loan dot total payment. So you create an object from loan class. Loan class is in your package chapter 40. So this is a Java class. Okay, this is basically a JSP. So you can include it using page import. All right, that is JSP directive. All right, moving on to the JSTL tag. So this is the tag lib just now, the one that custom tags. So there are 5 type of tags, JSTL tags. The core tags is basically the one that okay, let me go through the one that in the notes. Mhm. Okay, this one. Okay, core text is basically the one that have C out, C set, C remove, C catch, yeah, C if, C choose, C when. So this is basically the one that have prefix C. So the URI is actually this URL. Yeah, so you can access the core files functions, yeah, from this URI. URI stand for Universal Resource Identifier. So basically, this is a group of tags that most frequently being used, yeah, in our application basically. So C out is for expression. You want to display an expression macam you nak buat equal ni lah, yeah. And then kalau C set, basically you want to set the result for an expression evaluation in the scope. And then you have C if. If normally you will have sometimes like if condition. If the variable is equal to null, you want to do this. So you need to use the if condition. So instead of you ada if and then the condition itself, and you can do that in JSP, but they are also custom tags. We call it a custom tag. Okay, more simple. Yeah. So you can use C if rather than the if else condition in the JSP. And then you also have for each loop. Yeah? So this is the syntax for each. Yeah? So this is the one that um, for example, you have for each, you have for integer I equal to 0, I less than 20, I plus plus. Okay, so you can replace that with C for each. Yeah, so this is the syntax for custom tag. We call it as GSTL tags. So that is for core tags. Now formatting tags. Yeah, so you also have formatting tags, but you need to specify the URI. Yeah, so this is the URL whereby you can access this website and you can see the function. Yeah. So basically the prefix that you need to use for this tag lib is FMT. Yeah. So let's say you want to format date. Okay, you want to print out the date into maybe year, month, and day. So you need to have this FMT format date and the variable name. Okay, you can do that for formatting the output in JSTL tag. And then you also have SQL tags. Yeah, for group A. Okay, you have done this, right? SQL set data source. So this is basically the one that from SQL tags, yeah, for GSTL. So we are actually using GSTL SQL tag library, yeah, for setting the data source, run the query, run the update. Yeah, you have done this in the lab exercise. So for the next, for the two groups, the others, group B and group C, we will do this um, in the lab lah. Ya, in the lab nanti kita akan buat all this GSTL tag in lab 8. And then you also have XML tags. XML, so the prefix is X, and then this is the URI. Yeah, so you can access and see what are the method available for using XML tags, yeah, for GSTL. So it's a bit different. Yeah, they start dengan X out for expression. Dia ada juga X for each. So this is more or less similar to the core groups just now. Yeah. All right. So let's look at example. Yeah. Okay. Let's say this is an example of counting. Yeah, scriptlet. Yeah, using a JSP using scriptlet. Very basic. Kan? You ada start tag of JSP, and then you ada for integer I equal to 1, I less equal to 10, I plus plus. And then you have the curly bracket, close, right? Close JSP scriptlet. And then you ada expression equal I, right? And then you ada lagi satu close curly bracket in scriptlet. Okay, this is a normal JSP syntax, a standard one using scriptlet. If you want to convert this into JSTL, the code will be, first of all, you need to import this tag lib URI, and then you need to mention the prefix is C. Yeah, what you can do. So this is the line of code to replace for each loop just now. So you will get C for each, var equal to I, begin 1, n equal to 10, step equal to 1, and C out value. Okay, so this is the value, like expression, C out. Yeah. And this is n for loop, C for each. Which one is much more simple? This one or this one? GSTL or Scriptlet? Come on. What do you think?
GSTL.
GSTL more simple. How about the rest of the class? Daniel? Amiru?
Doktor,
Hmm.
yang step equal to 1 tu apa maksud dia?
Step equal to 1. It's like increasing I++.
Okay.
So begin and end ni macam ini je I and then dia akan stop 10 kan? So which one is much more simple? One of your friends said GSTL. The rest of the class agree? GSTL?
Yes, JSTL.
STL. How about the rest?
Scriptlet.
Scriptlet. Why? Because Scriptlet dah biasa
Dah familiar dengan yang Java punya ni.
Java punya coding. Alright. So I accept both. Yeah. If you answer Scriptlet also can. You answer GSTL also can. This is for the test or for the project. Yeah? So you can choose either one. Mana you prefer lah. Kalau you nak guna GSTL, yes, you can use it. If you want to use Scriptlet, yes, you also can use it. Yeah. So if you just want to try out, maybe boleh lah nak cuba JSTL. Yeah, because this is the evolution of JSP. So the latest one is JSTL because yeah, they want to come up with very simple one. Yeah, simple syntax rather than this one. Tapi if you're familiar with this one, yalah dah dah lama kan we use the Java code, we understand how it looks. It's much more faster for you to code. You can use this one as well. All right. Any questions so far before we move to another chapter to recap? Boleh?
Boleh. Boleh.
Okay.
Boleh.
Boleh.
All right. So let's move on to another one, which is chapter 5. Okay. Chapter 5 basically is about JDBC. JDBC stand for what class? JDBC. Have you watched the video yet? Belum lagi. What is JDBC?
Java Database Connectivity.
Java Database Connectivity. Yeah, so we will cover this one, JDBC for today, and then developing database application using JDBC. So we'll touch how the steps, what is the step? Yeah? You want to develop an application using JDBC for accessing the database. All right, what is JDBC? So JDBC basically is an API, Java Database Connectivities. So it's an API that support Java program that access relational databases. I believe you all have an experience in the chapter, in the lab exercise 5 kan? You dah buat dah pun. A little bit of database programming. You dah belajar about, you dah trace load the drivers, right? And make a connection and do some insert using the servlet programming. Kan? So in JDBC chapter, basically, I will refresh it back, the one that you have practiced in the lab exercise. So basically, it uses JDBC drivers. So you need to have a drivers, in order to you to connect to the database. So drivers ni, it depends on what type of database that you use. If you use Oracle, then you need to get the Oracle driver. If you use MySQL, then you need to have MySQL driver. And if you use Derby, so the one that we have used in NetBeans, so you need to have Derby driver. So it's very specific, yeah. And then JDBC API, you will get your application written in the programming language, the Java itself, yeah. So you will use all the methods supported in the Java to execute your SQL statement. Basically, not only execute, but also get the results from the database and then print out the result. Okay, so this is for JDBC API. An example, yeah. So let's say you have an application here, and then your application require 3 database. Yeah, so you need to have all the three drivers ready for that. Yeah, so you have MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server. So this is an application. Yeah, Java application here require JDBC as an API, and then it will have three different drivers. Yeah, so basically the SQL will be the same, just the drivers. So dia akan detect lah if um, the apps are using MySQL, then use MySQL driver. If the apps use Oracle, then use Oracle driver. Yeah, so ni if else if lah dekat driver manager. What driver to be load? So still depends on what kind of database that you use. So there are a situation where an application can have these three drivers all together. Because your user maybe nak guna Oracle, the other user want to use MySQL, so you will have one application. Your application can be sell to multiple users. Yeah, so these are situation, it's a real situation basically. Yeah, so you can have this kind of implementation for an application. So you can have three driver manager in one Java application. All right, so this is a basic step to use the database in Java. So basically, the first thing you need to establish a connection. So you need to create a connection object, connection equal to new connection, and then you need to load the drivers. So for establish the connection, you need to load the vendor specific driver. So if you use Derby, kan kita guna Derby dalam NetBeans. So you need to load the driver class, which is for Derby database. So this is the driver class. Okay, for group A, you have any problem loading your data source? Ada tak? Group A, yang mana dah buat lab exercise, tak buat lagi? Tak ada group A sini?
Ada doktor ada.
Ada. Dah buat belum?
Ada.
Belum
Yang mana?
Yang ni, load driver ni, ada problem tak?
Oh, tak ada, tak ada.
Okay. So basically, kalau you ada problem, okay, because in the code given, I believe I gave you client data source. Okay, so maybe if you cannot load the client data source, you can change it to become client driver. Yeah, so there is a situation, the NetBean itself does not have the Derby punya complete library. So when it does not have the complete library, somehow dia tak boleh run client data source. So you need to change it to become client driver. So this is also for group B and C, for next lab, our lab. So you will do the lab exercise that require this line of code, and then you will type this line of code. Somehow you akan guna client data source in the code given. So if you have any problem, you might want to change it to client driver. So you can use it both. Kalau you ada issue lah, into which one lah. Okay, so it depends. All right, after you load the vendor specific driver, now you make the connection. So connection, basically connection object. You need to create the connection object from the connection class. Use the driver manager, and then this is the parameter in the driver manager. So this is basically to establish connection to a database. So this is basically your URL, kan? Together with the local host, the database name, the username, and password name. Okay, so this is how you make connection to a database. Next, you need to create the JDBC statement. So JDBC statement, you can start with statement, or if you want to use prepared statement, you also can use that. So you can use the connection object, the one that in the first step, and then call the create statement method. So create statement method basically is for sending SQL to the database. Okay. Next, executing SQL statement. Right. So you have created the object of statement just now, stmt. Now you want to execute it. Okay. You use execute update SQL, and then pass the string for string insert data. So you have insert into student values with the values there. And then this is the insert data string. So you need to use the statement object, call the method execute update, and pass the string as parameter. So this is executing SQL statement. Next, get the result set, meaning that you want to get the record from the database. So you will create a result set object, which is rs, rs a result set object, and then you call back the statement object, okay, run the execute query, and put it the string here, query data as the parameter. So what it will does, you need to have a while loop in order for you to read the data from the database, and use next method to read one record to another, but you nak baca dia dalam bentuk loop. Whenever that you have to retrieve data from database, you need to have a while loop ataupun for loop, a while loop or do while loop, okay? And then you need to read one by one. So you need to have next method in order for you to read one record to another record. So you need to have this next, and then you initialize the variable, and then read one by one. Get ID, get string, and get string here. Lastly, close the connection. So close the connection for the statement, and then close the connection for the connection to the database. So you need to have these two. So this is all the 5 steps in the for you to use the JDBC in Java application. So this is the basics. So you need to have these 5 steps in order for you to access database, get the record from the database, and display the result set. Okay, class, boleh? Any question?
Boleh.
Boleh, the rest of the class?
Boleh.
Alright.
Boleh dek.
Okay. I will move to processing statement. So just now kita dah tengok statement kan in the example of create JDBC statement just now, then the basic steps. So there are 3 types of statement. Basically, JDBC provide the API for statement, and then you have the prepared statement, and then you have the callable statement. The one in the lab, I show an example for prepared statement, right? For DVD library and not DVD library, for database kan? Ataupun contoh yang you buat change password, right? Lab 5 lab 5. So most of you use prepared statement. Okay, so basically when you use prepared statement, so this is basically an interface that set the input parameter. So kalau statement dia tak ada parameter, but you can execute it using the SQL statement yang execute update, execute. So basically you just create the statement and then use the statement object to run the query by executing the execute update. Whereas prepared statement, they're different. They're different way of using it because they accept the input parameters at runtime. And then for callable statement, you use it for stored procedure. So, okay, let's look at an example. Let's say for statement. For statement, basically, let's say you have, okay, I make it bigger. You have created static final string query, select star from student. And then you ada lagi satu static final string update query. So this is an update statement. So you create a statement object here. Statement STMT connection, establish the database connection, and call a create statement. So it will not have any parameter here. You cannot have parameter because that was the rules. And then what you use the query execute here to run the update query. Update query is from this string, the one that you have defined previously. So you can use you create a boolean here. So whether is true or false, return value is true or false. For execute update, okay, you also use the object statement here, STMT, then run the execute update, and in the parameter you can pass the query itself. Kalau you nak buat directly in this parenthesis pun boleh, execute update, put directly update student set age where ID equal to 1 also can. Yeah? But put it in a string lah. Right. So this is an example. Yeah? Execute query, execute update, yeah? Execute query. Yeah? So this will select all the records and display all of them. So this is statement. Prepared statement. Okay, prepared statement basically you can put directly the update query here. Yeah, so as a parameter. Okay, you create an object of prepared statement. This is the connection of object. Yeah, so this is the prepared statement method. And then in the parentheses, you boleh pass parameter of query directly. And then you just call the object of prepared statement, run execute update. Okay, you also can make it like this, query, yeah, ataupun you nak run the query directly from here. Also can. Ini different lah, ya. Execute query maksudnya you nak run query select star from student. The first one ni saya hanya nak run satu query name update query. So both are actually executing a different kind of SQL statement. Boleh kelas? Can you get the different statement and prepared statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Syafiq okay? Naim?
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Ada banyak Syafiq dalam kelas ni kan? Okay, callable. Callable statement basically is if you have start procedure. Yeah, start procedure. So it is the example of start procedure. So normally this start procedure, you dah define yeah, apa you nak buat. Okay, start procedures like drop procedure if exists. Okay, this is start procedure for get employee name. For example, I give a name for this start procedures. So this is how you define the start procedure get employee name, get name. Yeah, so this is in Java. Yeah, how you code it. Yeah, if you want to have a start procedure to be run in your application. Yeah, so this start procedure will be executed using callable statement. So you create an object of callable statement. Yeah, use a method prepare call, and then put a string here, yeah, dalam string punya parameter, dalam parenthesis ni you put a string query, yeah, the query, and then you can use the statement object to call the method for the callable statement. One of example callable statement method is register out parameter. So what it does, it want to get the value for 2. 2 is basically let's see here. In MID I integer out M first varchar. Okay, so this is procedure for M to get the employee name. So M first is the first name, ID is the ID of the person, yeah, the ID in the column. Okay, and then you want to get the second record for the type of varchar. And then they print out the executing start procedure. So this is the statement object to execute it. So callable statement ni normally kalau you require a big application, yeah, yang nak run a lot of transaction. So normally we use start procedure. I think you learn it in database, right? Start procedure. Ada buat tak? Ada belajar tak start procedure in database subject? Database course? Kelas? Ada ke tak ada?
Ada tapi tak ingat.
Okay. It's okay. In our apps, dalam lab exercise, saya cover statement and prepared statement. Callable ni, I don't think we will cover it because most of start procedure will be used for big scale application, wide scale application. So the one that require banyak transaction. For example, macam online banking, so dia akan gunakan banyak start procedure in order for them to run it smoothly. Sebab kalau dia nak buat backup ataupun dia nak buat recovery, so start procedure are needed. Okay. Alright. Any questions so far? Boleh?
Doktor, kenapa dekat prepared statement
Mhm.
dia ada set integer?
Set integer. Oh, this is macam set string. So ni depend lah kalau you kata setiap kali you baca dia kan, baca daripada database ya. So normally dia dalam bentuk string, retrieve. So you want to make it an integer. Sebab tu dia ada set integer. Kalau contoh dalam coding pun ada, you pakai set string. Nanti kita tengok dalam lab exercise ya. Example of prepared statement, set string untuk name, untuk branch, set integer because you want to retrieve the value in integer format lah. Sebab kalau tengok this one, update query tu kan. So this is a string, right? So whenever that you run this query is in a string format. So you want to make it into the correct, what should I say? The correct data type. So that's why set integer. Sebab sini update student ni kan age kan. You nak ni age dia dalam bentuk integer, ID pun dalam bentuk integer. Boleh?
Oh, nanti sekarang dia akan gantikan lah 30 tu by 35 macam tu ke? Oh, I see.
Boleh?
Boleh.
Alright. Anything else? Ada any other questions? Tak ada? Kalau tak ada, let's go to the tutorial week 8. Alright, so let's look at the first question. What are the advantages of developing database application using Java? What do you think? Before this, you pernah tak develop database application using Java? Ke tak pernah? This is the first one.
The first one.
Sebelum ni guna apa? PHP.
PHP.
Alright. So what can you see the difference? PHP ada library tak? Macam Java, kita guna JDBC, right? So JDBC is an API. So how about PHP? Ada library tak? Kita ingat dah.
Tak ada rasanya.
Are you sure?
Not sure.
Not sure. Okay, normally in any programming language, regardless is it a C++, C#, PHP or not SQL, you guna Microsoft punya teknologi kan, C# lah, C# ataupun C++, kalau you guna database, you want to do database, normally it will require some libraries because bila you nak connect tu, of course dia kena ada driver, kan? Bila kena ada driver tu, meaning that it will need an API. API, sometimes people call API as library as well. Dia macam adalah PHP libraries. Dia tak call JDBC, macam kita panggil JDBC ni specific for Java database, right? Whereas kalau PHP, kalau you guna MySQL, mungkin dia akan ada MySQL libraries that connect to the PHP. So I believe that there is lah for all kind of programming language. They provide libraries, they provide interface, they provide this kind of API for you to use, for the programmer lah, for them to use easily when they're doing the coding, to connect to the database. So in terms of advantage, develop database using Java, what do you think? What are the advantages of developing this application using Java? Anyone? Ramai ni. Aiman ada, Aiman. Nurul Ashikin. Nurul Jasmine. Siti Nabilah. Shakila. Okay, able to use all the API. Adif answer, able to use all the API. Okay, that is one of the advantage. All the APIs provided by the JDBC. What else?
One of the most common language for programming.
common language in Java?
Java.
Alright. So yes, Java is the one that most common language. So bila you guna JDBC, kalau you ada problem later on kan, bila you nak troubleshoot kan, katalah ada error, you just copy the error message or error log, put it in the Google, and I believe there is someone having the same problem that you have. Yeah. So normally kalau nak troubleshoot, what you're supposed to do, basically you need to capture the log, the error log, and then just Google it, and then there is someone who will always have the same error for you to understand, nak debug balik kan.
Hmm.
Right. Thank you. Okay, ada lagi? Can work with different database. Yes, correct. You nampak kan tadi dia boleh connect with either MySQL ataupun SQL ataupun Oracle ataupun DB. So that's also another advantage using Java. Same as PHP as well, I believe. You can also connect with other kind of database itself. Yeah. So basically the API lah, the API. So if you have a lot of support from Java community, because Java is open source, So basically there are a community of Java that can provide some of troubleshooting, some of problems ataupun a lot of things lah, libraries, for you to develop using Java application. All right, number 2, let's look at number 2. Describe the following JDBC interface. So what is driver for? Come on. Driver for what? Dynamically load the vendor class. Okay, you are required to use the driver interface to load the vendor class. Vendor will be what? Come on. Who is the vendor? Anyone? Vendor here is MySQL or Oracle or JavaDB. What else? Apache. Okay. Apache tu Apache DB lah. So that is vendor. So basically you kena ada the driver. The driver connection. Alright, connection. What is interface connection for? Yes, correct connection, provided you have the driver, the driver class. Okay, how about statement? Okay, to process basically, right? To process the statement. That is the function of statement. How about result set? Holding or getting the result, right? Holder is an object, and if you create result set rs equal to statement dot execute update, kan? So meaning that the rs will hold the result set, maksudnya record daripada database. So we'll hold the record from the database, right? So everyone get it? Boleh ya? So these are all JDBC interfaces that you're going to use, in for your project as well. So you can add the driver, connection, statement, and result set. Okay, write a code fragment to load a JDBC driver. Anyone? Kalau dah buat, boleh letak kat chat. Load driver. Okay, what you need is class dot for name and then the driver. Okay, thank you. How about connection object using driver manager dot get connection method? Ada? So kalau you dah ada class dot for name tu driver kan? So how to create connection object? Connection. And then you create the variable conn, and then you put the driver manager dot get connection and put the URL kan? URL, the database name and username and password. Right. So number 4 is done. Okay, we have looked into this one. Number 5 kan tadi execute query, execute update. Okay, what is the difference guys? When you run execute. When you run execute query. When you need to run execute update. Come on. Nur Anisha. Nurhana. Afifah. Eme dah, Eme. Faris. What's the difference? Execute, execute query, execute update. Mm. Mm. Okay. Acceptable. How about execute? Come on. Anyone? Tak ada? I'm waiting. Execute. Not quite tepat. Ada ramai kat sini. I'm waiting lagi. Sekejap ya Naim before I explain. Basically it's there in my notes. Kalau siapa yang baca my notes lah. Ada yang jumpa? Where is it?
Jumpa tapi tak
Jumpa tapi apa?
faham.
Tak faham. I explained that, right? Okay. This explain each which accept a string. So all of them will accept a string, right? So string is passed to the database for execution. So dia kata execute method, dia akan produce multiple result set. Multiple result set maksudnya in a result set. Macam tadi your friend answer result set rs equal to statement dot execute. Okay, then the bracket dia akan run the string. So that basically the result set, multiple result set. Maksudnya ada banyak lah. Okay, multiple update count or combination of result set and update count. Okay, let's go to the next one. Kalau execute query normally, yeah, dia akan produce single result set such as one SQL statement. Okay, that is Naim answer just now kan? Execute update for insert, delete and update or DDL statement. Yeah, so that is execute update. Execute query untuk single result set saja. So maksudnya dia tak ada result set RS like what execute can do. Boleh? Execute dia boleh dapatkan dalam bentuk result set. Maksudnya you boleh buat while loop okay, to read one by one all the record in the database. Whereas execute query just now hanya satu je result set. One single result set. Maksudnya untuk select statement saja. So the difference is actually execute query for one select statement and for execute kalau you nak retrieve select star from database for example and then you nak dapatkan dia dalam bentuk banyak you nak display dia katalah you have you kata you nak display dalam table ya dekat you punya JSP code for example. So you want to display all the records in the table. So you should use execute. Ya, boleh? Use execute. Ya, kalau execute query ni macam you nak select one ID for example. Select ID, you nak dapatkan ID saja. Ya, bukan semua. So a single result set. Boleh ya? Azimah ask question apa tu? Execute can be used for any kind of SQL. Yep, any kind of SQL. Yeah? As an argument. Boleh ya, class? Clear about that?
Boleh, Doktor.
Alright. Okay. Given SQL statement in the following code, update employees set age. Okay, where ID. Right. Anyone have done this? What is the statement object? Statement apa? STMT concrete statement. Okay, and then prepared statement boleh juga kan? Kalau prepared statement, you boleh run terus SQL query dalam dia. So basically, this is to show different between statement and prepared statement. Kalau statement, you cannot have any parameter in the parentheses. And then kalau prepared statement, you can have the SQL directly in the parameter. Alright. I think that's all. Just that I have a quick check questions. Okay. Sekejap ya. Oh yeah. Before that, any questions so far? Boleh? Regarding chapter 5, database. Later, your apps nanti kena ada database ya. Okay, I put the quick check URL here. Can you open it? Kejap. Boleh buka tak? Boleh kan?
Tak boleh.
Tak boleh.
Tak boleh tak?
Tak boleh.
Tak boleh.
Sekejap ya. Setting lah tu. Sekejap. Response. Sorry. Okay. Can you try it now?
Boleh buka.
Okay, good. Okay, before I end, any question, class? So, your storyboard, please submit by Sunday ya. Saya dah extend kan? Boleh siap kan?
Baik, Doktor. Boleh.
Alright. Okay. Submit by Sunday only group leader. Ya, jangan semua submit. Nanti saya tak tahu which is which. Only group leader ataupun salah seorang daripada group lah. Submit. Make sure submit HTML files and also database design. Database design tu you can submit in Word document ataupun you PDF kan dia. I want to see how many tables there and also the relationship between the tables. Make sure you ada foreign key that attached to a primary key. Kalau tak nanti single table, so it does not represent an application. So an application should have tables that relates from one primary key to a foreign key. Boleh ya kelas?
Okay, Doktor.
Alright. Okay, I think that's all for today. Please answer the quick check before maybe 10:30. Saya tutup nanti. Yeah. Okay, thank you class.
Thank you, Doktor.
Thank you, Doktor.
Thank you, Doktor.
Alright.
Thank you, Doktor.